the 105 to the 710 to the 2 KCET, infinitely more.
This week on Bill Moyer's Journal.
God is the whole mercy, the whole love, the whole peace, the whole justice. And I don't think that God that have all these values can teach us or tell us to kill each other.
I remember Taliban, they beat me. And I really start to work for women's freedom without any discrimination, because I believe God will not allow this.
Inherent in religion at its best is a commitment to doing good in the world.
And I just thought, where's Mother Teresa when you need her? She should be here, or somebody should be here. Somebody needs to do something about this. I just got a voice back saying, well, you do something about it.
Beyond Our Differences. Stay tuned. Funding for Bill Moyer's Journal is provided by the Partridge Foundation, a John and Polly Guth charitable fund. Park Foundation, dedicated to heightening public awareness of critical issues. The Kohlberg Foundation, the Herb Alpert Foundation, Marilyn and Bob Clements and the Clements Foundation, Bernard and Audrey Rappaport and the Bernard and Audrey Rappaport Foundation, the Fetzer Institute, the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, the Orfila Family Foundation, the Public Welfare Foundation, and by our sole corporate sponsor, Mutual of America, providing retirement plan products and services to employers and individuals since 1945. Mutual of America, your retirement company. Funding for Beyond Our Differences is provided by Penny and Bill George and the George Family Foundation, Terry Troy, Robert and Linda Bisanz, and Barbara Forster and Larry Hendrickson. From our studios in New York, Bill Moyers.
Welcome to this special edition of The Journal, the premiere of a film you would not otherwise see on television. Looking at the discord and violence sown throughout the world by religion, the filmmaker Peter Bisanz decided to explore an alternative vision of faith. The idea came to him as he was visiting the Dalai Lama at his headquarters in Dharamsala, India. Peter was inspired to ask himself, given that religion is universal to so many different human beings everywhere on this planet, is it possible to imagine a different world if they focused on their essential unity? When I first watched the film, I was reminded of the great Jewish theologian Abraham Joshua Heschel, who once wrote, "No religion is an island. We're all involved with one another. Spiritual betrayal on the part of one of us affects the faith of all of us." The film could not be more timely. We have been racing toward what my friend, the late Joseph Campbell, called a mighty multicultural future. That future has arrived. 1,000 gods crowd every corner, and we face a contest of narratives. All great religions grapple with things that matter. Each arises from within and expresses a lived human experience. So can we listen as alertly to the experience of others as we hope they will listen to us? And can we hold to what is unique to our own belief system, yet move beyond our differences to act on what is unique to all of us as human beings? That's the challenge underlying this film by Peter Bisanz, and we're delighted to share it with you now.
It seems everywhere we look, we see war, disease, terror, and death. We see oppression, division, and violence. We see pain. Yet there is something else that is also happening all around us. "95% of us believe in a power greater than ourselves. We believe that we can, through our faith, make a difference in the world. People everywhere want to believe in the fundamental power of good and the possibility for change. Beyond our differences, there is a common hope that binds us together, a profound sense that what we share is sacred. We are a people of faith.
Most of us think we're human beings having a spiritual experience, when actually it's probably more accurate that we're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Spirituality is a seed, and then religion, they're just a different flowers that bloom where you plant that seed. So if you plant the seed in this society, it'll bloom this way, this way. You plant the seed here, it'll bloom differently. But there is a common seed.
That's how I define spiritual experience, to enter a domain of awareness where you recognize your universality.
Religion is the quest for a transcendent vision that enables us to make sense of our world and our relationship to other people. A quest for meaning and a desire to become fully human.
Religion is a powerful force for good. The emphasis upon the family, commitment to marriage, a commitment to ethical framework for life, commitment to children, commitment to social order, to peace and stability.
The values of justice, the values of charity, the values of protection of the poor, the values of creating social safety nets. These are religious values.
Human beings are moral beings, and religion tries to encourage its adherents to seek to do the good and to avoid the bad, the evil. Religion is the primary fundamental relationship between a creature and its creator.
If God relates to us and has created us in all our diversity, then obviously there are unlimited ways of relating to God. You can never understand the totality of the divine because we're not God. And therefore any religion is only a partial glimpse into that eternal truth. And none of us can have more than a partial glimpse.
As bees take honey from different flowers, similarly wise men takes essence of goodness from each and every religion.
We have a common humanity. We belong to different nations, we belong to different ethnic groups, and the religions also are different. But basically, we are all human, we have the same needs, we have the same aspirations, and we're faced with the same problems.
So we have to go beyond the conventional approach to religion to get to the roots of these religions. We all share the one and only thing, which is peace and stability for all human beings, and free will for all humankind.
If you look just the differences, forget what is the purpose. There are big differences. But if you look, what is the purpose of these traditions? No matter how many differences, all carry the message of importance of love, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance. These are fundamental value of human being. It becomes very clear. All these different philosophies simply different way of approach, but same goal or same message, to create better human being.
Throughout history, people have harmed, oppressed, and even exterminated others in the name of God. How is it that religion can be used to justify such violence?
There's an expression that God gave humans the truth, and then the devil said, let's organize it, we'll call it religion.
It is not the religion that has caused problem. It is the practitioners of religion that has caused problems.
It really angers me because of the fact that this has nothing to do with faith. It is like misusing the great motivating force of religion. This is really the vested interest of some self-seeking individuals who are making life miserable.
There are always people in every religious system who don't want to be compassionate, and they would rather be right. That's a great temptation for religious people.
And anybody who doesn't agree with you, then they're outside. They're cast out into outer darkness, and you won't have anything to do with them, and you fight against them. And that's really not the way God created the world, I think. We are called to have a much broader view.
You know, there is a saying of a great Muslim mystic, Jamaluddin al-Rumi, who said, I went to the church seeking God and I didn't find it. Then I went to synagogue and I did not find God either there. And then I went to the mosque and I did not find God in the mosque either. I came home and I found God in my heart.
Because the spiritual experience is so intoxicating, and because it's so meaningful, and because we all so yearn for it, if we don't have the direct experience ourselves, we look to authorities. I don't think Christ was a Christian or that Buddha was a Buddhist. These are words that we created later. We took an experience, somebody else's experience, and we believed in it, and then we created dogma and ideology around it. You know, my God is better than your God. Then we go to war to defend it.
Because religion seeks to give meaning to our lives, it's bound up with all the components of our understanding of who we are as individuals, as members of families, of communities, as nations, peoples, even as part of the whole cosmos. The sources of people's violent behavior are always some form of alienation. Some sense that society looks down on you or even humiliates you. You often see religion being used to strengthen the sense of identity of those who feel that they're being attacked.
Most of the so-called fundamentalist movements, in religious terms, spring from this kind of fear of annihilation, a desire to assert a clear identity.
And therefore to see yourself as the godly against the godless, and to see yourself in an inexorable war between the good against the evil.
When the Crusaders went into battle to kill Jews and Muslims, they cried, God wills it. That was their battle cry. There's always been a danger of using God to endorse some of our worst fears, hatreds, and prejudices.
Because once you touch religion, faith, it's lit with emotion, so easily manipulated.
Once you say that it's right to kill in the name of God, you have lost the plot in religious terms. All the religions teach that stopping violence as soon as possible is absolutely crucial, and that human life, even the human life of our enemies, is absolutely sacred and inviolable.
After years of Russian occupation and civil war, a religious party called the Taliban took control of Afghanistan in 1995. This fundamentalist sect believed in the strict enforcement of Islamic law as they interpreted it. They prevented girls from going to school, they barred women from working, and prohibited them from appearing in public without a male relative. Shukriya Barakzai, a devout Muslim woman, refused to obey the Taliban's restrictions on her freedom.
I remember Taliban, they beat me on the street. For what? Because they didn't like women. I just went to the doctor. I was sick. I wear the burqa, even I had my socks and shoes and everything, and I covered my hand. But with all these tough rules, they punished me because there was no male member of my family with me. It's impossible for others to imagine when you are not free. Even you don't have the rights to go to the doctor? Why? For what? I'm glad, because this punishment is just was a shock for me. I got new power after this punishment, the power to fight. And I really start to work for women's freedom without any discrimination, because I believe God will not allow this. I feel myself as a responsible Afghan, as an individual, to fight for that, to do something for the future. And I start underground secret school. It wasn't a big school because everything was underground, and I was the only teacher. At the time, condition was bad for young women, particularly educated women. I bought some books from the market, and we tried to just teach them. With the young girls, we try to keep hope. We give them hope for the future. We try our best to keep on their heart a wish for tomorrow. I think you are responsible to teach others. If someone needs you, try to help them. That's the most important for me. I believe that we are human, and I believe God will be happy we are equal. Of course, Islam is my religion, and I deeply respect that. When I'm asking women's rights, it's direct connection with Islam, with my religion. By Islam, women have rights of education. Islam never means lack of freedom. Islam means respect. Respect each other. For me, God means love. I love my God. I believe him. He protects me always.
Fundamentalists still want to murder Shukriya. She and 5 other members of the Afghan parliament have been marked for death by suicide bomb.
Today, I'm working for reform. When you're standing for reform, when you're standing for democracy, when you're standing for peace, stability, accountability, solidarity, of course, you're receiving so many enemies. It's my responsibility as a mother and also as a Muslim to show the right way. Even if I would die by suicide attacks, I will be proud of that. Because I'm dying for my country, I'm dying for freedom, I will be dying for equality, democracy. It's good to die for something rather than dying for nothing.
In November 2007, Shukriya Barakzai was wounded by a suicide bomb in northern Afghanistan. 6 members of parliament died in the attack, along with 52 of the children waiting to greet them. Shukriya survives and continues her mission.
God directly states that you must live in a world where all human beings will be equal, not in a world where some will be masters and some will be slaves.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with unalienable rights. That's beautiful, beautiful language, and it's a beautiful reality if we embody it.
These rights are not given to us by the Constitution. They're not given to us by man. They're given to us by the Creator, which is why they are inalienable.
The universal teachings of Abraham say we should all live together in peace and love, with a system of justice for all.
Every human being is of inestimable value, their life and their dignity. For in the image of God he made me, the human being. In other words, any act of disrespect, of disregard, of humiliation towards another human being is in fact an act of disrespect and, as it were, of humiliation towards God himself.
When the great world faiths were coming into being, all of them began initially with revulsion from violence. They tried to find new ways of controlling the rage and hatred in our hearts. And that is the kind of spirituality, I think, that is needed in our bitterly divided world.
All religions teach the basic principles of love and compassion. These are simple ideas, but they have shaped the most revolutionary events of our time. In the 1920s, a deeply religious man, Mohandas Gandhi, emerged as the strongest voice for Indian independence from British rule. Yet Gandhi did not call for an armed revolution. Instead, he urged Indians to use non-violent protest and peaceful resistance.
Mahatma Gandhi said, if you want to see change in the world, you have to be the change.
Gandhiji's entire philosophy was based on love. Love for your entire universe, for all life, for all people. So he never saw people as enemies. For him, the minute you use violence, then it's a spiral. Violence raises bitterness in your heart, and then you want to take revenge. He said that his life was his message. And I think that's the greatness of Gandhiji.
Once they asked Mahatma Gandhi, what is the most important quality in spirituality? And Mahatma Gandhi said, don't be a coward. I think the most important quality that a man or a woman should have is to be brave.
The Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. based the American civil rights movement on the teachings of the Hindu Mahatma Gandhi. The Baptist minister from Atlanta, Georgia, saw that love and respect could set black and white Americans free of their racist history.
Gandhi's understanding of Christianity was more relevant to me than the understanding of Christianity that I got from most U.S. Christians. And particularly the idea of loving your enemy. I'd never heard anybody in the U.S. Take that seriously, hardly. Love your enemy and bless those that persecute you. There weren't many people that were talking nonviolent social change. And there was still a tremendous amount of doubt. And I was skeptical. I didn't think nonviolence would work in the South, that America was too violent and too militarist to respond to this. Frederick Douglass said that the struggle for freedom is a struggle to save black men's bodies and white men's souls. Racism is a sickness. And you don't get angry with sick people, you help them and heal them. And healing was spiritual. And nonviolence then seemed to be a spiritual method of healing. And that was the first time I understood that religion had the capacity to change people. And if you can change people, you can change society.
The aftermath of nonviolence is the creation of the beloved community. The aftermath of nonviolence is redemption. We must come to the point of seeing that our ultimate aim is to live with all men as brothers and sisters under God and not be their enemies.
Martin used to say that life is about commitment to your own beliefs. And if you're committed to those beliefs and are willing to work hard, sacrifice, suffer, and be sensitive to the people who disagree with you, then there's almost nothing that can't be done.
In the 1940s, the minority white South African government introduced a rigid system of racial segregation called apartheid. Leaders of the religious opposition to apartheid believed that violent resistance would only create more hatred.
We used to say of our situation in South Africa that it looks so utterly hopeless. But we used to say to our people, this is a moral universe. Right and wrong matter. And there's no way, despite all appearances to the contrary, there's no way in which evil will have the last word. And we realized that the healing could ultimately actually happen only through those who were themselves wounded.
The people of South Africa decided that it wasn't enough to just end the violence. They needed to learn to forgive one another.
The only way you can appropriate forgiveness is by confessing. People are a glorious creation. Just as much as we have this extraordinary capacity for evil, so we have a remarkable capacity for good. Each one of us has the capacity to become a saint. Incredible. We follow the one who says, forgive one another as God in Christ forgave you.
The Chinese invasion of Tibet in 1951 drove the Dalai Lama into exile. Despite a lifetime outside of his own homeland, His Holiness has never abandoned his belief in non-violence, and he remains one of the most powerful voices for peaceful reconciliation today.
When we think of a person who created a lot of sort of sufferings in our own land, usually frustrations, angers, hatred usually come. So here, very useful is it to make distinction. Although we totally oppose their action, their activities, we always can keep compassion to not develop hatred towards the person.
In 1989, he was awarded the Nobel Prize for Peace.
Because violence can only breed more violence and suffering, our struggle must remain non-violent and free of hatred. We are trying to end the suffering of our people, not to inflict suffering on others. I pray for all of us, oppressor and friend, that together we succeed in building a better world through human understanding and love. Thank you.
Buddha said it, hatred will never put an end to hatred. Violence will never put an end to violence. Only love can put an end to hatred. And only non-violence gentleness can put an end to violence. If you give in to anger and hatred and commit violence, the one who is most violated is yourself. By surrendering to anger and hatred, you are allowing it to violate you.
For 60 years, there has been the constant threat of violence between Israelis and Palestinians. Their warfare plagues the Middle East and the rest of the world.
People do not have the choice of where, what, and how to be born. If someone is a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew, I respect people on the basis of them being equal human beings. You have to accept the fact that there are other people who have different religious faiths. God does not choose between apples and oranges, you know. He has created us all.
God is the whole mercy, the whole love, the whole peace, the whole justice. And I don't think that God that have all these values can teach us or tell us to kill each other. I am a Palestinian refugee. I born in a refugee camp. And I lived 15 years in tent in a very difficult situation. I have been 15 years in prison because I participated in resisting Israeli occupation for my land. And in the prison, I find it is like a trip for finding the truth. I was once in a cell, you know, a cell isolation. I have no books, I have nothing, I just coming and going, coming and going. And there's a soldier also the same, coming and going, a Jewish. And I looked to the soldier outside, I looked at him, I tried to look at him, wow, what is a human being like me? He has eyes, he has nose, he has mouth, he has... So why he's out and I'm in? Why he is Jewish and I'm Palestinian? Why I'm hating him? Why he hate me? He never met me. So who's deciding all these things? I said, why I have to hate the Jewish? Why I have to hate the Israelis? For me, I don't hate them. I find I don't hate anyone.
Dr. Noah Salama earned his doctorate in international peace studies in the United States and returned to Palestine to work for reconciliation and conflict resolution.
Bringing Islamic, Christian and Jewish religious leaders together. مش راح يعني نتوصل أو راح نسوي سلام لأنه مش إحنا اللي بنوقع القرارات. It is a Palestinian organization working for peace and justice, and we hope to make reconciliation between Palestinians, Israelis, and to live together. Because I think that God created human beings to live on peace. When we meet some Israelis who never met Palestinians, they say, we never thought that you are like that. You have to help people to understand each other, at least to know each other as a human being, and after that, work with each other as God wanted.
Unfortunately, the religious process has always gotten entwined deeply with the political process, and both the forces are using each other for their own ends, which becomes a complex and deadly mix, the pain of which the humanity has seen continuously. If you look back on the history of conflict, it is always between one man's belief versus another man's belief, religious or otherwise. When I believe my way is the only way, conflict is inevitable. How can you avoid it?
O Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in pardoning that we are pardoned. It is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
In my younger days, I was the mother lion. Love of Israel and love of the Jewish people. The fact that it was going to be at the expense of Arabs didn't make one bit of difference because Jewish people were in distress. But I then became a mother, and that was the transformation for me. When my daughter Alexandra was born, I could no longer justify that there would be a correction or that anything would move forward if it meant the discomfort or pain of another mother's child. I have to find solutions in a different way.
Melis Lewine Boscovich builds relationships between young Israelis and Palestinians through the use of art and theater.
Peace Child Israel saw that relations between Arabs and Jews in the country were not in a good place, and we need to heal. Healing, basically healing, is the work that has to be done.
أنا بفكر إنه الدين ساعد نشوف إنه كل الديانات إنه بالآخر بتوصل إنه لنفس الإشي، إنه ولا نقتل ونحب بعضنا.
الدين بيساعد إنه يكون في سلام بيناتنا، إنه بيطلع كل بالآخر القرآن والإنجيل بالتوراة نفس الإشي.
بكل دين في أشياء كتير إيجابية وأشياء بتساعد للسلام. فلو أخذنا كل الأشياء الإيجابية ومشينا عليها وتبعناها رح إنه بركي تحسن الوضع شوي.
Most of my friends don't know Arabs. They know Arabs just from TV or something like this. So they don't like Arabs. In the group, I met Arab people. They are my friends now.
We have shared things together. I mean, we think in the same way, we do everything the same.
If everybody will do just a little bit, it can make a big change. That's the recipe for peace, I think.
For religion to make an impact on the work that we're doing, we need to find some heroes who somehow can decide for themselves that the religion needs to be used as a healing factor instead of a separating one.
הכיוון הוא טוב, נכון?
All the great world religions teach us that the lack of self is not only the test of the religious life, it also introduces us to what has been called God, nirvana, or the sacred, when you dethrone yourself from the center of your world and put another there. It requires us to look into that selfishness that makes us envy other people, that makes us promote ourselves at the expense of others.
Some time ago, I met a rickshaw puller who peddles and takes people around, and that's his living. Maybe in a day he earns 25 rupees. 25 rupees would be about 55 cents. And in that particular city, they decided to bring in motorized rickshaws, and a lot of them were coming shortly, and he also knew, and he has no means to buy a motorized rickshaw, nor is he licensed to drive. He's old, and this was his father's rickshaw. His father was also doing the same thing, and he's doing the same thing. Now the man is old. So I asked him, see, these motorized rickshaws are coming and roads are getting bigger, and they're going to ban these cycle rickshaws because they're a barrier to the faster movement of traffic. So your livelihood is going to go away. Are you concerned? What is it that you're thinking of doing? He said, yes, I'm definitely concerned about my life, my wife, my children, but I think it's going to be good to people. I think the people will be better off with faster mode of transport and everything better in the town. Now his life is being threatened, but he's thinking in terms of it's going to be good to everybody else. That's really allowed for other people.
All the religions of the world teach us, even command us, to take care of one another, to feed the hungry, care for the sick, and lift up the poor. Father Kieran Craig, a missionary priest from Northern Ireland, ministers to the people of Atteridgeville, South Africa. It was there he first saw the harsh reality of the AIDS epidemic and felt compelled to act.
I was working as a priest here in the township of Atteridgeville for a few years. And as a priest, you'd be called out when people would be at their worst, where the doctors could do no more, the Sangomas could do no more. Then maybe they'd say, well, at least call the priest to do the last prayers or maybe a bit of healing. And one day I was called out to a guy called Ronald, 50-year-old man, and I was just appalled at the condition he was in. He was dying of AIDS, and his wife was the only one able to look after him, and she also had AIDS. And there'd no running water, no electricity, and the heat and the smell in the shack was dreadful. And I just thought, where's Mother Teresa when you need her? She should be here, or somebody should be here. Somebody needs to do something about this. And I just got a voice back saying, well, you do something about it. So I decided, well, maybe that's a call that I need to answer. We opened our doors on the 1st of July 2004. Are they looking after you nicely? And since then we've taken in 306 patients, mainly HIV and AIDS related illnesses. The name of our hospice is called Laratong, and Laratong is a Sotho word that means the place of love. My belief is that God is love, so this is the place of God. You're doing well.
More than that.
More than that. And that's what I want people to experience. That when they come here, they come to a spiritual place, a good place, a loving place. Okay, you go out.
Yeah.
Linda Kerate.
I love you too.
Ah. Hello. What kind of place is this with cake? Where people come together. That's where God is. Okay, listen, enjoy your cake. I see you later on.
Thank you.
In 2003, Father Craig was the first person in Africa to be injected with the AIDS vaccine.
I had been working with the young people here in the township to help them change their behaviours, to get them to stop sleeping around or to having sex before marriage, so they wouldn't be getting AIDS. For some reason, the message wasn't getting through. So I thought, well, if it makes some people think, well, if that chap can do that, then maybe I can abstain or I can change my behaviour. So you get spoiled, do you? If this will stop people from getting HIV and AIDS, then it's a good thing to do. I think God is greater and bigger and more wonderful and more fantastic than any of us will ever know. I think sometimes religious practice can get in the way. People will tell you how to find God or what you have to do to get God. It's like you have to win God. Religious practice is great if it's done from a good heart. But anything else, anything less, is just like St. Paul says, a boom clashing, a gong banging. It's no problem. I never find God in a church. In our language, in the Irish language, the word for a church is Chocfubble, which translated into English means house of the people. And in Celtic spirituality, that's what we believe, that God doesn't need a house. God is everywhere. He's in the air we breathe. It's like the prayer of St. Patrick, you know, Christ beside me, Christ above me, Christ below me, Christ around me.
In February 2007, 8 men broke into Leratong Hospice, shot Father Craig twice, and left him for dead. The callous violence of the robbers stunned him and shook his faith, but he chose not to surrender to hatred. He returned to Leratong and continues his work.
In every case, religion issues a command: be better, be more humane, be more kind, be more just. Religious truth is a summons to action. As the Buddha put it, once a man has achieved enlightenment, he must come down from the mountaintop and return to the marketplace and there practice compassion for all living beings. So inherent in religion at its best is a commitment to doing good in the world.
If I say to someone, well, why do you say you're Christian? And they might say, well, I go to St. Mark's Church, Bermondsey. But no, that doesn't make you a Christian any more than, you know, if you were born in a garage makes you a car. It's what you do with your life. It's putting your faith to work.
We have to really start translating faith and spirituality and religion into practical actions. We cannot continue praying to God and then not doing anything.
If I try to put into practice what I believe, that is going to bring about a positive change, make this world a better world, no matter where I am. And I think that is the greatest thing that can happen in our life, and it is happening in the life of so many people.
The challenge today is for us to implement this globally. So we treat other nations as we would wish to be treated ourselves.
God says, oh, my dear children, when are you going to learn to appreciate, in fact, to celebrate your diversity?
If you look at the Quran, it has a very important text, and it says, O humankind, we have created you from one pair, a man and a woman, and made you into tribes and nations, so that you may know one another.
You have gifts that I do not have, and I have gifts that you don't have. And you can almost imagine God rubbing God's hands and saying, voila! That's exactly what I wanted you to know.
So therefore, according to the new reality, we have to look whole world like one entity, one body.
Restless tonight, 'cause I wasted the light. Between both these times, I drew a really thin line.
Beyond Our Differences is available on DVD. To order, visit shoppbs.org or call us at 1-800-PLAY-PBS.
Just for one thing, if I sorted it out, if I knew all about this one thing, wouldn't that be something?
View additional interviews from Beyond Our Differences Log on at pbs.org.